I think it is difficult. I'm not going to lie to you. It's not something that and it has a lot to do with what the kind of relationship that you have with your children, and also establishing clearly what are the boundaries. I'm going to be your coach, and I'm going to be critical, and I'm going to be pushing you, and you have to allow me to do that. Otherwise, it's not going to work. Otherwise, I'd rather you being coached by somebody else who can push you a bit more. And so it has to be an understanding first, and a good relationship, I think. With my kids, I'm coaching Felipe now, and so I am coaching my son in a child, and I are co-coaching them. But I'm in the practices almost every day, and he's easy to coach. Felipe is a good listener, and Melissa was at times harder because she's feisty, because she's going to fight, and because she's not going to take things just at face value. She's going to challenge, and that's great. That's one of the reasons I think also why she's so special. But at times it hurt our relationship. We had a couple of exchanges at times that were tough. I think it was not easy. A couple of conversations we had with Melissa about, if you don't want me to push you, I will not coach you anymore because I'm not helping you if that's not the case. And I don't think that she was complaining that I was pushing her. I think it was more, you're my dad too, and I guess she was feeling that at times I was not being her dad. So, as I said, it hasn't been easy all the time, but with my kids it has been, or for the most part, 99% of the time, a pleasure. But I warn you, any other parent, it's not an easy thing.
That's a tough one because I think it's so dependent on the relationship that you have with your child. I think it worked out really well with me and my father. I think he was able to balance the line well. I mean, it's hard. We did struggle with it, but I think we balanced it well. And I think it's important to note that, it's not always about winning. It's just about improving, making sure that you're yourself as an athlete and as a parent that your kid is improving and getting better. But it requires a lot of support and trust and patience and love. Everyone has your best intention at heart, especially your parent. So I think that's important to note, not to get too frustrated when your parent is coaching you, and as a parent, not to get too frustrated when your child isn't taking it seriously. But if there's trust and support, I think that's the most important.
I think it's a really good idea to talk beforehand about what you expect from each other, and there's always been mentioned that there's got to be a disconnect between the parent and the coach. And during practices, I'm your coach. Afterwards, I can be your parent, but it's hard to be both at the same time. You can't really. You're gonna have that preference for your child. You might be biased. You might not see things that you should be seeing, but if you can really set down the guidelines, the barriers beforehand, and your roles when practice is on, when games are on, and your roles when you're off the court, it can be a pretty beneficial relationship, especially because your parents, they know everything about you. They know so much of who you are that can really help in terms of figuring out what to fix, what's wrong, and how to best handle you, maybe. So that's the positive side of it. Obviously, some people don't really take the advice well from their parents, or they don't want to be lectured more by their parents per se. But personally, with my dad and I, we have a good thing going right now. We're both in a good spot. We know what to expect from each other, and so that's been working fine. I'm really happy having him as my coach. So it's not for everybody, but I think it could be beneficial if you guys know what you're getting into, definitely.
I think we humans are complex at times, And if you don't have a good relationship with your children, don't even dare to, because it's going to exacerbate, I think, the conflict. I don't think that it will help, because there are a lot of chances for conflict and for disappointments. Sport is full of disappointments, and glories too. I mean, if you're going to be succeeding all the time, it may help the relationship. But that's not the case in a sport. In a sport, you're going to lose. And when you lose and you're the father and the coach, or the mother and the coach, it hurts. It hurts the relationship. So it's a tough balance. As everything in life, it's a nice balance that you have to keep. I think being a parent is the worst situation. Being a player, you're doing it. So you're in control of the game, or kind of in control of the game. If you're a coach, you have some control. You prepare the team. If you're in indoor, you ask for timeouts, you make substitutions. But as a parent, you're in the stands sitting there with zero control, nothing. Everything is out of your hands. For you, it's just to scream and yell or just sit down. People say, my girlfriend now, Paola, says, I used to scream a lot when I watched volleyball. Now I sit beside you and I am quiet. Because I'm quiet. By watching, very seldom I scream and yell. I sit and maybe it's part of analyzing it a bit, but I'm relatively quiet. And I say relatively because I know at times I get loud anyways. But my favorite way of being is just analyzing the game and try to be quiet, even if I'm dying inside.